In the early hours of Saturday morning, U.S. forces descended on the Venezuelan capital of Caracas. Hours later, Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro and his wife were in U.S. custody. Hello and welcome to USA Today's The Excerpt. I'm Dana Taylor. Well, President Donald Trump had been threatening to capture Maduro for weeks. Many questions are swirling about the move. First among them, was this even legal? And what happens now? Here to help us dig into all of the issues is USA Today White House correspondent Bart Jansen. Bart, thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
Bart, this was an extraordinary move by the Trump administration. Maduro and his wife, Celia Flores, were arraigned Monday afternoon in Manhattan. What were the charges?
There's four basic charges: narco-terrorism, conspiracy to import cocaine, and two weapons charges. Basically, the accusations are that for a period of about 25 years that Maduro was part of and at the end sat atop a criminal conspiracy of the Venezuelan government to send cocaine to the United States.
And what's the evidence to support those charges?
The indictment was pretty broad-brushed in describing the actions up to this point. It made accusations such as 200 to 250 tons of cocaine being sent to the United States from Venezuela each year by 2020. So a massive conspiracy, a massive amount of drugs, but getting down into the nitty-gritty about what Maduro specifically did to contribute to that alleged conspiracy isn't spelled out in too much detail. One of the items in the indictment is that he was a acting foreign minister in 2006 to 2008, and that he was issuing diplomatic passports to drug traffickers so that they could more easily bring drugs to the United States. But the rest of the allegation, stuff spanning 25 years worth of actions, isn't really laid out in a relatively brief indictment at this point. We'll be looking to court and future actions in the court case to spell out more of those details.
Bart, were their arrests legal? What are U.S. experts saying here? And what's the rest of the world saying about this?
Well, Trump, of course, contends that the arrest was legal, that this was basically a law enforcement action pursuing somebody who has been indicted in the U.S. to face charges here. But by using the military to capture Maduro and bring him back to New York City, it has raised a lot of questions among European leaders who say they want to review what's happened, take a look at what laws and what policies are at stake, but brought some criticism from Venezuela's neighbors, such as Brazil, Mexico, Colombia. Leaders of those countries issued a joint statement saying that the violence, the military, was a bad precedent to set. The Secretary General of the United Nations said it was a bad precedent to set. And leaders of Russia and China, who are allies with Venezuela, said that the military action should be denounced. So our allies, mostly in Europe, are continuing to study the situation, but Venezuela's allies have been critical of the move.
What happens next?
In the court case, we'll expect defense lawyers to begin challenging all aspects of the charges. Legal experts say the trial might not start until 2027 because of the wrangling. The challenges could be that the military capture of Maduro was illegitimate, and so he shouldn't have to face charges. Another argument is that he could be immune to charges as a head of state, similar to how the Supreme Court found that Trump could be immune to criminal charges if he was acting in his official capacity. And so they'll spend months and perhaps longer wrangling over those issues, and whichever side loses on any of those court decisions could appeal those decisions. So the expectation is a trial isn't going to happen soon.
But ironically, Maduro's capture happened 36 years to the day when former Panama leader Manuel Noriega was arrested by U.S. forces on similar charges. What do these parallels tell us?
Well, the action against Noriega absolutely removed him from power, removed his leadership, and set Panama on a new course. The question now is, what does Maduro's removal mean for Venezuela? We remove the top leader, but the argument is that much of his regime remains in place. So, uh, how might that regime be either dismantled, or if left in place, might he just be replaced by another leader of similar policies?
In his national address on Saturday, President Trump said the U.S. would, quote, run Venezuela for the near term. What does that effectively mean?
Well, we're still waiting for more details on that as well. Yes, President Trump has said that the U.S. will run Venezuela. He suggested that Secretary of State Marco Rubio and Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth will be among the U.S. officials working with Venezuelans to fix what Trump calls the mess of their country. The idea being to root out corruption that is alleged throughout the government. One of the biggest facets of that is to restore the oil industry in the country. Venezuela has enormous reserves of oil, and there are many countries around the world, as we mentioned, Russia and China, that depending on that oil flow. And Trump says that the country is only producing a fraction of what it could be. So he says that oil companies will spend billions and then be reimbursed from oil revenues to restore Venezuela's full capacity to export oil. So the promise of business improvement is one of the things that Trump is holding out for optimism in this change of government, but it's left U.S. officials and Venezuelans wondering what all it means for the U.S. to be effectively running the country. How detailed will that be? How deeply into the government will U.S. officials extend?
Sticking with that, Trump talked about oil and that U.S. oil businesses would take over that industry. But many are criticizing the move and have suggested that the whole operation could be a massive oil grab. Is there any truth to those theories?
Trump has accused Venezuela of stealing U.S. assets by seizing control of U.S. oil facilities decades ago. That country called it a nationalization of these foreign interests. In the meantime, countries have tried to resume oil production. Chevron, for example, has a special deal to uh, produce oil out of Venezuela. But Trump is arguing that by restoring aging facilities that he say are just out of date, run down, dilapidated, that if oil companies are invited back to invest billions of dollars, that they can restore it to a premier oil producing country. So it does look like the goal is to or resume oil production out of Venezuela. We'll have to wait for details on who all is going to be benefiting from that the most.
Or how are Venezuelans reacting?
There have been public demonstrations of people very happy to be rid of Maduro. Uh, People in the streets carrying flags, signs, banners, uh, happy to be rid of a person that had long been criticized as an authoritarian ruler, not a very pleasant guy. You know, the United States, the European Union had not recognized Maduro's most recent election. And so there was a lot of anticipation that he was not a good leader, that something needed to be done. But what's also remaining or lingering among people on the street is, what does the future hold? We know that the U.S. is going to contribute to the Venezuelan government, but who will be the leaders? Who and how will they act? What will their policies be? Those are all open-ended questions that the Venezuelan people are waiting to see the answers to.
What next steps are we looking at here? Are there other countries on the radar for drug trafficking charges?
Well, Of course, Mexico is another country that Trump has made allegations about their drug trafficking to the United States. One of the terrorist organizations alleged to have benefited from Venezuela's drug trafficking in the indictment is the Sinaloa cartel in Mexico. That has also been designated a terrorist organization by Trump. And so, greater attention on Mexico in terms of drug trafficking is one path that the administration might take. Another is that Cuba has long been a beneficiary of Venezuela's oil industry and mutual protection. And Trump and Secretary of State Marco Rubio have said that they would also like a change in leadership in Cuba. And so we'll have to see whether the U.S. now turns its attention to that island country that the U.S. has long been opposed to the communist leadership.
Bart Jansen is a USA Today White House correspondent. Thank you so much for sharing your insights here, Bart.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for watching. I'm Dana Taylor. I'll see you next time.